In this video, I am going to explain how will you implement multi-thread using the interface Runnable. As you know, there are two ways to create multiple threads. The first way is by using the thread class that we have already discussed in the previous video. The second way is to implement the Runnable interface. So in this video, we are going to focus about the second methodology to create multiple threads. So for that, the first step is create a class which implements Runnable. That's what I am going to do first. So create a new Java class. I am going to name it as my thread, like this, and say that this class implements Runnable interface. And the Runnable interface contains an abstract method called the run method. We have to override that run method. So implement that abstract method and remove this line throw new unsupported operation exception. We don't want this. And what must be coded inside the run method? The run method contains the body of the thread. Assume that the thread wants to display some I value ranging from 1 to 5. Then we can put a for loop for int I equals 0. Okay. From 1 to 5 means then I equal 1, I less than 6, I plus plus. Then we can use the system.out.println to display the I value like this. So the thread's functionality is now to display I value from 1 to 5. Now I am going to create a main class, and from this main I am going to generate child threads. So public static void main. Now we are going to create the first child thread. As you know that the moment Java program starts, the main thread will be generated automatically. That starts from the main method, and from the main thread we are going to generate multiple children threads. So how will you generate the first child thread? Suppose your myThread class is a subclass of thread class by saying myThread extends thread. Then by creating the object for the subclass of thread, we can say that a thread is newborn. But here how it shall be done? So first step is create an object of my thread. You'll understand later why I am creating this object. Please wait. Create an object of my thread class. For that, my thread equal new my thread. This doesn't give any thread. We have just an object of my thread. And now we are going to generate, or we are going to create the first child thread. Since our class is implementing the Runnable interface, what we have to do is create an object for the thread class. Let it be thread t1 equal new thread. This is how the object should be created for the thread class. Now what I am going to do is I am going to use the second thread constructor. So here I will be passing an object which uses the Runnable interface. So here we have an object called empty whose type is myThread, where myThread class implements Runnable interface. So I can pass it like this. And here I can say that a new thread is born. We can say that its status is newborn status. So here only the first child thread is born. not in the line number 15. If my thread extends thread, we can say that in this line itself a new thread is born. Here, since the my thread class implements runnable interface, what we have to do is create a thread class instance by using the standard class thread and pass the object of the class which implements runnable as an argument to the constructor of thread. Now we have to change its status from newborn to runnable. Change the first child thread status from newborn to runnable. For that, we have to apply start upon the first thread T1. Now once the processor is available for a T1, we can say that T1 goes inside the processor and its status become running status. Now we are going to see what is output of this run file. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here we have totally 2 thread, main thread and the child thread. Now I am going to give some functionality for the main thread also. So the main thread is also going to use some for loop which displays some I value, maybe I value 6 to 10, like that we can take it. So int I equals 6, I less than 11, I plus plus, we can say that I. Now we are going to see the output once again. We can see the mix of output is coming. You can see first 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we are going to prefix the thread name along with each iteration. For that, we have to get the reference of the current running thread by calling thread.current thread, thread.current thread, then say dot get name. We can put some space like this. So here the current thread is a standard method which gives the reference of the current running thread, here in this context main thread's reference. So once we get the reference of the current running thread, that reference dot get name. And why it is called thread.current thread? Thread.current thread is a standard static method in the class called a thread. That is why it is called like this, thread.current thread. Same thing I am going to apply for the my thread class which implements runnable. You can see that thread.current thread dot get name like this. So now let me run once again. You can see that now the thread name is prefixed main like this. You can see main 9, then main 10 is coming finally. Now here you can see that the first child thread is taking a default name thread -0. So if you want, we can change the default name. If you don't change, the default name for the first thread will be, first child thread will be thread -0, the second one thread -1, like that it goes on. So what I do is, before calling the start method, say that t1 dot set name. We can say that first. Now we are going to check the output once again. We can see that first is coming. Suppose you want to create one more child, yes, even if you want, you can put either before this for loop or after the for loop. I am going to put before the for loop. Create the second child thread. For that again, create a thread instance. Name let it be T2, new thread, and again here we have to pass the object empty. Now we can say that its status is newborn status. Now we have to change the newborn status of second child to runnable. For that, t2 dot start. So now if we want to set the name for the second child, say that t2 dot set name, for example second. Now I'm going to run the file. You can see that main second main like this. So here the class is very simple. It implements the runnable interface, and here we have the main method. So if you are using this second strategy, that is implements runnable, the first step is create a class that implements runnable interface, then override the run method and provide the body of the thread, what the thread has to do. Then in the main method, what we have to do is create thread instance, thread t1, t2, depends on how many child thread. For example, if you want to generate two children threads, then say that thread t1, thread t2, like that. You have to create instance for thread class. Then remember that you have to pass your myThread class object which implements runnable as an argument to the constructor of thread. I repeat, here when you create the thread instance, ensure that you are passing some object where this object is using the runnable interface. You can see that here empty is of type myThread. myThread implements runnable. That's all. Hope that all of you understood. Thank you for watching this video.